Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, January 12th, 2026. I am Walter Bass, and this is Truth News. Yesterday we did Follow the Children, was the title of the program. So we followed the children, and you're going to be amazed at what we found. Dating back to the 1920s, the United States has been selling children to different countries. That's right. Georgia Tann and the Tennessee Children's Home Society was running a black market selling children from the 1920s to the 1950s. Again, I implore you to use your own mind, do your own research. This can all be looked up, no problem, internet, however you want to do it. That's how we're going to start the show, and we're going to go into Korea, Charlie Kirk, Maricopa County, and child sex trafficking. Let me repeat that. We're going to cover Korea, Charlie Kirk, child sex trafficking, Maricopa County, and how they all connect. Now, September 7th, just before Charlie was assassinated, he was in Korea. And you might ask yourself, why was Charlie Kirk in Korea? Well, because Turning Point USA traffics children, and Korea is where child trafficking began in partnership with the United States government. So Korea and the United States government have been partners in child sex trafficking for around probably 70 years from my research. We have the Korean Christian Crusade paid by the Brothers Home here in the U.S., and the Korea Christian Crusade later became the Eastern Social Welfare Society. And they were investigated by Korea for selling children. They were also selling children to Denmark. And this goes into what's called the Romanian Baby Bazaar, who was also selling children. And you might know Romania from Erica Kirk's Romanian Angels. That's right, Erica Kirk, Romanian Angels. And we have the Romanian Baby Bazaar with ties to Holt Children's Services. So how does Romania Baby Bazaar and Holt Children's Services, how are they connected? Well, Holt Children's Services started in Korea. But guess where their headquarters is now, ladies and gentlemen? Eugene, Oregon. That's right. Holt Children's Services, who has been child sex trafficking for decades internationally, started in Korea and is now headquartered in Eugene, Oregon. And we'll get more into them in just a little bit. We also have let's see. I'm sorry. These are just talking points, just notes. Everything is off the top of the head. The Holt Children's Services was actually buying children from hospitals and maternity homes. Now you might be thinking, what's a maternity home? Well, a maternity home, Candace Owens touched on with Liberty University and Jerry Falwell. Jerry Falwell was a Christian pastor here in the U.S. who was running maternity homes. Why is a Christian pastor running maternity homes? Because they are using God to sell children internationally and hiding behind faith, using faith as a shield to conduct evil. Sound familiar? Does it sound like maybe Idaho? Saying that if you don't like what we do, you're an anti-Semite. Sound familiar? So, for 65 years, Holt has sold children worldwide from Eugene, Oregon. Now, where do you think Holt gets its money? That's right, the federal government, the HSS, Health and Human HHS, Health and Human Services of the United States government, taking our tax dollars, giving them to places like Holt, and we'll get into a couple more. There's not just Holt, there's more. giving them to Holt Children's Services to sell children internationally around the world. And this has been going on for 65 years. So another organization that is federally funded with tax credits and grants is the Barker Adoption Foundation. Guess where they're located? Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So we have Holt in Oregon, and they have locations around the country, like in Arizona. They do have one in Maricopa County. We're going to get into that just shortly. And then you have Barker out of D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. You have the Carolina Adoption out of North Carolina. Nightlight Christian Adoptions, which is an international child sex trafficking organization. And they are out of High Point, North Carolina. High Point, North Carolina. And I'll get into them shortly. First, I want to get into Maricopa County, which is where TPUSA is based. Maricopa County is Phoenix, Scottsdale, Glendale, Tempe. These cities in Arizona are all in Maricopa County. Maricopa County is known for corruption. And in 2019, the Maricopa County Assessor, Paul Peterson, was sentenced for smuggling pregnant women from the Marshall Islands into at least 3 different states in the United States of America to sell their children after they gave birth. Let me repeat that. The Maricopa County Assessor, Paul Peterson, was sentenced for smuggling pregnant women from the Marshall Islands into the United States, trafficking them to 3 different states at least, to sell their children when they were born. Let's see. TPUSA is in Phoenix. Maricopa County is Phoenix. So you see how this all goes together. Now, Charlie Kirk was in Korea literally just days before he was assassinated. And I believe they tried to indoctrinate Charlie Kirk and introduce him to what was really going on. And they showed him what happens behind the scenes. And Charlie Kirk didn't agree with it, so he had to be taken out. Because Charlie Kirk was not going to be trafficking children for money. On top of the Doge audit he requested of TPUSA, that was when he was going to discover they were trafficking children from Korea to Phoenix to Eugene, Oregon to North Carolina through all these shell corporations and these big money backers. Now, here's a question I have to ask. How are all these organizations, the Barker Adoption Foundation in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, 3 separate locations for Barker. Holt has several locations around the country, including Arizona. Nightlight Christian Adoptions, they are based out of High Point, but they also have locations in Arizona, Oklahoma, Dallas, Missouri, and I'll get into those. I'll get into more locations. How are they getting all these children? If we have a morning after pill, we have condoms, contraceptives, the DEPA shot. How are all these children being born and trafficked internationally around the world? I'll tell you how, because they are being stolen. They are being stolen from third world countries like Venezuela, like potentially Greenland, Mexico. That's where the 300,000 missing children from the border went. They've been trafficked through these federally funded child sex trafficking organizations using the name Christian adoption agencies to traffic children. Nightlight Christian Adoptions says it serves 14 countries. The United States of America sells children from North Carolina to 14 countries through Nightlight Christian Adoptions. You can look all this up. I encourage you to look all this up. And I'm going to tell you, I looked up, how are we funding this? How is this being funded? Title 4E of the Social Security Act gives states federal funding for foster care and adoption assistance. Let me repeat that. Title 4E of the Social Security Act gives states federal funding to traffic children using the word adoption or foster care. It is child sex trafficking. High Point, by the way, High Point, North Carolina has a population of 114,000 people. Because I was wondering, I was thinking it's got to be a big city to sell children to 14 countries. This has to be a couple of million people, surely. 114,000 people in High Point, North Carolina, the home base for Nightlight Christian Adoptions. And they are servicing 14 countries with stolen children from the United States of America. Now, let's do a backdrop on the three organizations. Holt Children's Services is global. Global. You're more than welcome to look them up. They began in 1956, ladies and gentlemen. 1956. Holt Children's Services, a global organization, is in China, Cambodia, Haiti, India, the Philippines, and South Korea, and Vietnam, with headquarters in Eugene, Oregon. So they are based out of Eugene, Oregon. They started in Korea, moved over to Eugene, Oregon, because Korea didn't like that. Korea, the government looked into them, found a bunch of fraud, money laundering, black market stuff with the children. So they said that you can't do that here in Korea. So they moved to Eugene, Oregon, because you can do anything in the United States of America if you have money. If you have money. We've proven that. So they also, out of Eugene, Oregon is their headquarters, but they are also in Washington, Nebraska, Illinois, California, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Now I want you to pay close attention to these states. Each organization services different states around the country. So Holt services Eugene, Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Illinois, California, Wisconsin. Nightlight Christian Adoption services California, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Texas. And it says here, they just added India, ladies and gentlemen. So they're in 15 countries now, not 14. Let me correct that. And Nightlight Christian Adoptions started in 1959. So from 1959 till now, and 1956 with Holt, the United States government has been selling stolen children to at least 15 different countries, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have the Barker Adoption Foundation, started in 1945. And they service D.C., Maryland, Virginia. They're also in other countries. Burundi, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Taiwan, Thailand, and Brazil, and they also expanded to India and South Korea. So do you see Korea is in all these, ladies and gentlemen? And do you notice Charlie Kirk was in Korea just literally 3 days before he was assassinated? Do you see the connection? Maricopa County Assessor Paul Peterson trafficking pregnant women from the Marshall Islands. TPUSA is based in Maricopa County. Do you see the connection here? This is absolutely disgusting. It is evil, it is vile, and I encourage you to please look up all these organizations, facts and statistics. I've done the research myself. I spent all day yesterday doing research, taking notes. I was going to do another story, and the first story I was going to do was on Hollywood, Follow the Children, and we're going to name this Follow the Children Part 2. But Follow the Children, I originally said, let's look at Hollywood because of Macaulay Culkin, and I have screenshots on my phone of all these children. Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears, Brittany Murphy, Macaulay Culkin, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, River Phoenix. All these kids, when they entered into Hollywood, were bright, healthy, glowing, happy children. Look at them now, if they're still alive. River Phoenix dead. Brittany Murphy dead. How many people? Dana, what was her name? From Different Strokes. She's dead. So many of these Hollywood children end up dead or just completely shot. Will Smith's son, shot. I mean, Macaulay Culkin, shot. Justin Bieber, shot. And if you look at Justin Bieber, when he first got introduced, he was such a bright young boy. I mean, he literally glowed. Justin Bieber. Look at him now. Look at Macaulay Culkin. You look at him in Home Alone and how happy and he glowed. Look at him now. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And the more I've researched this, and I couldn't believe the Georgia Tan and the Tennessee Children's Home Society, 1920s to 1950s was running a black market for children. This has been going on for a century, ladies and gentlemen, more than 100 years. The United States government has been involved in child sex trafficking worldwide. And you wonder why we don't have the Epstein files? Because of what's in there. I'm not going to tell you what's in there. More of this. Way more of this. The Romanian baby bazaar ties to Holt Children's Services. And the Romanian Angels with Erica Kirk selling children to the United States military. I mean, this goes on and on and on. And I didn't want to make too long of a video tonight because I worry about people's attention spans with social media. I've been going a little over my videos, like 30, 40, 50, 45 minutes. And I feel like people lose interest because of the social media. You know, people can only pay attention for about literally 5 to 10 minutes. And then they're bored and they got to move on to the next thing, which this is what the government wants. They want your attention span so short that you'll forget about what they did 5 minutes ago and you'll be on to the next thing. This allows them to get away with stuff like this. And ladies and gentlemen, we cannot allow this. We cannot allow our taxpayer-funded public servants to sell our children and lie to our faces and laugh about it. I can make a phone call right now, and we're going to call United States Capitol Hill Police on Capitol Hill, which I call Pedophile Hill. And we're going to see what they say. They either sit in silence or lie. Here we go.
Yeah, it's Capitol Police.
Hi, it's Walter Bass. You're on Truth News right now. I'm doing research on the Holt Children's Services in 1956, the Nightlight Christian Adoption Agency in 1959, and the Barker Adoption Foundation from 1945. All three federally funded organizations are selling children to at least 15 different countries since the 1950s. Do you have anything to say about this? This is Capitol Hill Police Intelligence, ladies and gentlemen. $1 billion a year budget. These are the people who told me my son was dead, called me stupid, called me retarded, threatened to have men in white coats come and pick me up. This is what we the people are paying for, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have anything to say about this child sex trafficking from 1956 to 15 countries by the Holt Children's Services? Do you have anything to say about Nightlight Christian Adoption Agency, 1959, in 10 different states, California, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Texas, selling children to 15 countries. Do you have anything to say? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what, $1 billion a year of your tax dollars. This is the service you get. This is what you pay for. Thank you for your time, sir. Let's call Riverside County. They're the ones who stole my son 1,586 days ago and lie about it. This is the police in Riverside County, Sheriff's Department.
Please hold while I transfer your call. Dispatch, this is Danny.
Hi, Danny. It's Walter Bass. You're on Truth News, and we're talking about child sex trafficking from the 50s through Holt Children's Services, Nightlight Christian Adoption Agency, and the Barker Adoption Foundation. Do you have anything to say about our tax dollars being used to sell our children for more than 50 years by the United States public servants? This is They have a budget of $500 million a year, ladies and gentlemen. $500 million a year Riverside County Sheriff's Department takes of our money, and they sell our children. And do you have anything to say, ma'am? You see this, you get the same exact service from Capitol Hill Police Intelligence on Washington, D.C. as you do in Riverside County, California. Crickets. When you hit these people with the truth and ask them where are all the children they've been selling, they have nothing to say. Usually they transfer me to mental health, call me crazy, stupid, retarded, or threaten me. Would you like to do any of that tonight on Truth News? Danny, would you like to do any of that on Truth News tonight? You're live. They have nothing to say. Thank you for your time. This is what we're paying for, ladies and gentlemen. This is America. This is the real United States of America. If you haven't noticed, I did turn my flag upside down. This is a naval symbol when a nation is in distress and in threat of property or liberty. So until we set our country right, until our taxpayer-funded public servants start serving we the people who go to work, bust our butts to pay for them to live a life they don't deserve while they sell our children and lie to our faces, this flag will fly upside down, and I will continue making these videos every day, ladies and gentlemen. It is day 1586 since my son was kidnapped, violently sexually assaulted, abused, neglected, tortured, and trafficked by State Judge Kelly Hansen of Marietta, California. And the United States government has been doing this to American citizens since 1945 that I can document. And I encourage you to look up these foundations, do your research, look at the funding they receive, look at the grants they receive, taxpayer-funded nonprofits, child sex trafficking, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for joining Truth News tonight. I encourage you to please like, subscribe, and share this information. If you care about children, if you care about our country, and if you care about the future of our society, please spread this video as far and as wide as possible. Thank you and have a good night.